I'm Amber McCrae, a nutritional therapist. I help women become more in tune with their mind, body, and soul through holistic nutrition and emotionally focused therapy. I help them create a more meaningful, energetic, and connecting life. But we're going to go with it. Fuck perfect, right? We're just going to keep going with the podcast. And I hope that you guys enjoy. And thank you for being patient with me as I embark on this journey and discover what works and doesn't work. And life happens, so this is permission for your day to not be perfect either. In today's episode, we're going to talk about exploring abandonment in the What Happened to You series and how abandonment can have such a huge impact on not only our lives and our relationship, but our physical and mental well-being. Studies show that when we have experienced abandonment in childhood, it can contribute to difficulties in having and maintaining healthy relationships in adulthood. And the research has shown that individuals who have experienced that abandonment may be more prone to issues such as anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and even fear of intimacy. So not only did it show that children who had been abandoned, they had trouble communicating with adults and peers, they also had reduced brain activity and they had decreased gray and white brain matter. Their IQ scores were lower. They had difficulty with memory and executive functions. They also had a really high rate of behavioral and emotional problems. So this article also indicated that if the abandonment happened or the stress or traumatic experience happened after 2, it's much harder to have these children develop safe and healthy relationships. It's not impossible, it's just much harder. So this article talks about kids who have been institutionalized and how it's like a light switch, it's a dimmer, and the neurons, the communication between the neurons drops extensively with kids in these institutions. There have been several other studies on how trauma and abandonment affect the brain and the body. So talking about all of this brings me to a really big topic nowadays there's lots of terms for it: gentle parenting, conscious parenting, emotional parenting. But I truly believe that the basis is attachment. And we've really come a long way with understanding that the importance of attachment, not only in children, but adults. And this is one of the reasons we see this huge shift. We're really seeing the effects of abandonment issues in these generations. And this is why I think so many parents right now are shifting the way that they are raising their kids from the way that, I was raised, or even previous generations. Is a lot of parents, it was you're seen, not heard, you go into timeout, you are punished with silent treatment, you are grounded, go to your room, you don't get to be with us. All of these, we are seeing that while they may seem small in the moment, they can have dramatic effects on the brain and the children. This carries over into adulthood, and where we have so many adults who long for relationships, long to be loved, long to belong, but are extremely fearful because in the past they have experienced abandonment. So many of us might think, punishing our children or consequences where you have to go to your room and you can't eat dinner with us, or I'm not going to talk to you, I'm going to give you the silent treatment until you behave. These, from a scientific point of view, can have a really big impact on not only the emotional aspect of the children, but also the physical, what's happening to their brain when this happens, when they experience this. It can be small doses of abandonment. And we're seeing lots of studies and if you look at the generation and what we have now is you have people who do not know how to connect. They do not know how to be in a relationship. They are terrified of losing their partner, or they will stay in all different kinds of unhealthy relationships in fear of being alone. And then you also see this generation who experience those abandonments maybe in those small doses of punishment or in large doses where they may have lost parents or loved ones or traumatic experiences, things like that, that have now shifted and are really trying to make sure that that doesn't happen with their children. And so they're really changing the way that they parent. And we're seeing this huge shift, and I think it is amazing. We also see so much pain in these adults who have experienced this abandonment and how that plays out in their current relationships. This is why I'm so passionate about emotionally focused therapy and really helping people understand how to create safety within their relationships. And if they don't have a healthy relationship or unable to, this is where a counselor or a therapist, where we can step in and be that safe place for people until they can cultivate that themselves, and somebody does come along, and then we can help them nurture that so that it can become a very safe partnership, whether that's a marriage, a partnership, or friendship, even in coworkers and business relationships. So some of the effects that you might see with people who have experienced abandonment and still have that fear, deep inside of them that can be triggered, is worry that friends or partners will leave them, constantly looking for signals that others don't really like them, the frequent need of reassurance that others love them, always trying to please others, even at their own expense. I know that so many of us have experienced that, and that we give too much in relationships or have a lack of boundaries or even stay in unhealthy relationships due to the fear of being alone. And I will tell you that fear is absolutely real. We are created for connection. We are created to have these attachments. And when we feel alone or we feel like those connections are threatened or could leave, people will do desperate things and do lots of different things to try to keep those connections. This is where we see maybe a very toxic relationship where you may have a mentally or physically abusive person, maybe lashing out, trying to keep that connection, and then the other person staying in a very unhealthy, abusive relationship because they desire that connection. And when we look at it from that point of view, it makes so much sense why people stay and do these things in these relationships. And emotionally focused therapy really helps people be able to have those new emotional experiences and create safety within their connections. Yes, that takes a lot of hard work and dedication, but it can be possible if both parties are willing to work. And that is to say, always making sure that you are safe. You and your family are safe first. That is always most important. What I really want to just highlight is the effects of abandonment and how that transfers into our adult relationships. And what I love to do is help people really understand the why behind what is going on with them and their triggers. So many of us have that fear of abandonment, and we don't realize how much that plays into our everyday lives and how we communicate and how we are in our current relationships. That abandonment fear, that fear that the people that we need and want will leave us or won't be there. And that fear can be debilitating. It is exhausting. And so really just helping people understand, and this is something that I've experienced myself and I will always continue to be working on. We all have that fear to not be alone. We just want to be loved and not be alone, which makes so much sense. So I just wanted to highlight to you guys today some of the effects of abandonment and how it really can still be playing havoc in your adult life, even if it has happened in your childhood. And that takes a lot of safety to be vulnerable and uncover some of the things that may still be a raw spot or not really worked through, to be able to come out on the other side and not be debilitated by those triggers and that fear. I think that we will always have that desire and need to be connected to those that we love. But I think that we can learn how to not let that fear be debilitating. If any of you have experienced abandonment or experiencing any of the things that I talked about today, please don't hesitate to schedule a free consultation today and we can chat about how maybe I can help you on your healing journey. I look forward to talking to you guys in the next episode. And remember, connection over perfection.